everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Heart to Heart. This is a IGTV and now newly branded YouTube series started by myself, Dr. Mohamed, and my partner in crime, Dr. Misha Gupta, where we talk to not only today's cardiologists, but all sorts of different physicians in different fields about their journeys through medicine, their social media presence, and really just learning about them as people. So today we are so fortunate to have ourselves and we're just going to kind of give a brief outro as to, how last year went and how things got started, and a brief intro as to how this year, 2021, a year that all of us have been highly anticipated or have highly anticipated because 2020 was a crap storm, let's all be honest. So without further ado, I am going to introduce my colleague and my partner in crime, my dear friend, who I've actually never met before, which is insane, but I feel like we've become so close. And I'm so excited that we're working together and we've met each other. And I'm really excited that we're going on this journey together. So Amisha, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for this episode, we wanted to just renew and, thank everybody for going on this journey with us and talk about some of the reflections and the highs and lows of 2020 and, where we think our journey will continue with all of you. So to get started, I think we can, both talk about this, and everyone knows, like you said, that 2020 was a bleep show. But what do you think, were some of the highs and the lows of 2020, to just look back and take from it?
I think that there were, I'll start with the highs because there were a lot of lows. So let's start with the good stuff. There were a lot of highs. I mean, I know as a personal journey for myself, I started off 2020 not really knowing where my life was going to go. I'm a locums cardiologist, as some of you know, and I had this dream of moving back to California, but I didn't really know how that was going to happen. And then COVID hit and I was looking for a job and that kind of all went down, the whole, and I wasn't really able to find anything that I liked. And so I kind of was in this weird space. And I remember having a conversation with a friend and he was like, you're really interested in imaging. Why don't you, maybe see if you want to apply for like another imaging fellowship and see if you land in California and then, see where that takes you if you're so interested in making that a career. And I was like, oh, but I don't know if I want to do another fellowship. Like I'm already, a year out, a year and a half out. And then I was like, well, I guess what do I have to lose? I do love imaging and I do have some MRI training in the past, and I would love to make this a career of mine. And if I want to get into like a really competitive job, then I would love to be able to have that background. So I gave it a shot and I applied to literally like 4 programs. I got 1 interview and I matched at that place. So I'm moving to San Diego near Amisha, which is insane. Totally unplanned.
You put it out in the universe.
Literally, I think everything happens for a reason. So that was a huge highlight for me. And I think things just started to fall together. And I think that the message that I really want to deliver to people is that, if you have like a passion in life, and you're really trying to find your purpose is behind your passion. So if you really just put that into your life and you feel like you're kind of lost and you're stuck, and trust me, I was there for a very long time, and I would have conversations with all kinds of people, my mentors, my friends, my family, like I don't know where my life is going and this and that. And once you focus on yourself and you realize that you want to go in a certain direction, everything just starts to fall into place. And I think the other high of 2020 was starting this public social media profile, which I never thought that I would do. And I did it in the midst of COVID because I thought, hey, what else am I going to do with my life? I probably could have done other stuff with my life, but I was like, I feel like I have some stuff to talk about. And, I was intrigued by some of the profiles that I saw before. So I decided to join. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I think, again, I was kind of lost when I first started. And I was like, why would people want to follow me? The whole imposter syndrome thing. But little by little, I started connecting with people like Anisha and other people online within the cardiology community and within the medical community in general. And things kind of just spiraled. And then this idea of heart to heart came up. And that's how I met Amisha. I reached out to her and I was like, hey, would you want to, do this thing with me? And she was so sweet and kind, and she didn't even know me. And she was like, sure, why don't we figure this out? And this is how we created this series. And it's kind of crazy how things happen. Like, it's still unbelievable that only a few months ago we came up with this idea, and the opportunities that we've gotten from it. The fact that we've been able to meet some really big leaders within the field. It's incredible. And Amisha and I have these conversations with each other all the time still, as to like, is this really happening to us? Like, like, do people really still want to talk to us? Like, who are we? But it's just turned into something so great. And again, it's become this like passion project for us. And that's why I keep on reiterating that when you put your whole like being into something, things kind of just snowball. And so we've been able to, collaborate with the American College of Cardiology. We've been able to collaborate with the American Heart Association. We've been able to speak at a couple engagements, and it's just been wonderful. And we have other opportunities in the pipeline coming in 2021. So those have been the highlights. And some of the lowlights, COVID, which has kind of put a halt in all of our lives. And, I will say, though, that with COVID, I feel like there are already some cracks, within the seams of the field of healthcare. There have been some cracks within, the United States and the world in terms of, speaking about racial inequity, gender inequity, things of that nature. And so these things really got brought up and highlighted during the pandemic. And so I'm really happy that although we've had some, really terrible things that have happened that we've had to deal with, we're actually dealing with them, and we're having conversations about race, and we're having conversations about gender equality, and we're having conversations about people of color and women having seats at the table, which is so incredibly, important. And, with all of the political craziness that's going on, I feel like we're all just so much more invested into becoming better people and really living in a better place. So, we really are trying to find the high ground here, and really trying to find, the positivity in all of this, because we could talk about how much negativity has been there. And I mean, there have been hundreds of thousands of people that have died from COVID. There's millions of people that are infected with COVID. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to last, but look at all the beauty that's also come from it too, and I think that we need to remember those things and carry the lessons that we've learned from 2020 into 2021 and moving forward. So those are some of my highs and lows. And so I'm gonna pop that question right back at you, sister. What are some of your highs and lows?
I have to agree with you, on the whole. I think that in general, like, when we started 2020, everyone was like, this is the year of 2020 vision, right? And obviously it turned out to be such a year, but I do think that in hindsight, it was something that really, it was a year that really did open up our eyes to a lot of things. And I think, I'm going to go off of the lows. And obviously we're in the midst of a pandemic, and it being within the midst of this crazy whirlwind, there have been lows and there have been highs in terms of the medical field, in terms of healthcare workers, in terms of, seeing what are the breaks, the deficiencies in our system, not just nationally, but internationally. And that includes all healthcare workers, all people of color, the scientific community, the general public, in our understanding of each other, politics, and what that means in terms of the scientific community. So I think that, even though we were in the midst of this crazy, difficult time period, it did open our eyes, like, I mentioned before, to a lot of these issues that many of us may have not known of, or known different aspects of. and so, even people within the healthcare community, such as ourselves, may have not known about some of the other deficiencies or not been as aware of some of the problems, that our colleagues are face. And so I think that it's been a learning experience for me. It's been something where I, in each of the things that each of those topics that I've mentioned, I've tried to educate myself. I've tried to ask the pertinent questions that I need to. I've tried to like go and find the material, and I think that's, we're trained to do that as physicians and going through medical school and training. But, for me, I feel like I expanded that more into like the public health realm, more so than I've ever done in the past, and I think that's something that, was a learning experience, a positive learning experience from Olo. And I think, a lot of my fellow colleagues feel that way too. And I think it was a year where many of us found our voice. So, whether that is on political matters, whether it is on scientific research and vaccines, whether it is on people of color and Black Lives Matter, whatever it may be, I think we found our voice, not just healthcare, but also, anybody who became educated, and had the insight to learn more about what was happening. And I think that does make a difference. And I'm hoping that whatever we have undergone through 2020, like you said, we take those lessons and we continue to make them actionable items, and continue to push forward, because now if we don't, it's denial. And I don't, I don't think we could ever go back to that. So I am thankful for some of those things that were, buried or under the rug coming to light, so that we can make, a difference and go forward.
Right.
Some of the other positives, I have to agree with you, is this heart to heart series. I think when you came to me, I think I had just gone public on my profile, maybe for a couple months. And I was thinking about, what I wanted to do with my profile and what did I want my platform to be. And I remember, brainstorming with you about, let's do a series and what should we talk about and what should we name it. And I think I still have on my desktop computer a list of some of the names we came up with, and and like, just some of those ideas we came up with. And I have to say, I learned this from an episode of Oprah's, I think I mentioned this to you before, one of Oprah's Sunday Soul, podcasts, where she said, basically, if you put it out into the universe and it's something that you're passionate about, you don't have to have all of those details lined up, right? So you can start with a big idea or the umbrella, and then you can, work with it and go as, let it grow and see where it takes you. And I really think that this series has been that for both of us. It's something that, we started with an idea, and slowly started to build it, and it's still in that phase. And, we're happy where it's taking us, and we're open to where it's going to go in the future. And we're just really, I think, thankful and grateful that people like you, like everyone out there, is interested in learning about physicians, about our journeys. We hope that we have more kind of interactions with our audiences in the future. And yeah, I think that, that's, I think, one of the biggest things is to keep an open mind and follow your passion, because like you said, because you don't know, don't close the door on yourself, and what you're capable of, because, if there's anything you can learn from the both of us, to all of our audience members out there, if you have an idea that you are thinking about, that you're passionate about, work with it, think about it, write it down, come up with, concepts around it, and see what you can make of it, and there's going to be frustrations. Like, we've had mind blocks, and we've had, times where we're like, what are we going to do next? And think sessions, but that's part of growth. And I think that's, one of the biggest things that, I've learned with this experience with you. And I'm so glad that I'm doing it with you. So yeah, that's my reflections of 2020.
Those are some great reflections, my friend. And yeah, I agree, obviously, with everything that you said. I think, social media has really become a voice for physicians, and we're really trying to, highlight that, especially with this series. So, okay, we talked about 2020, some of the highs, some of the lows, and we talked about a little bit about 2021 and the things that we're looking forward to, but really, like, what are some of the goals that we should be setting for 2021 as people and really as healthcare professionals and physicians?
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think as healthcare workers, we have a responsibility, right?
Mhm.
We there's been so much misinformation, and there's been so much dichotomy and politic, politicizing of science and facts, and evidence-based information that I think as healthcare workers, from whatever position you may hold, we have a responsibility to fight that misinformation. You don't have to do it on a grand scale. I don't think that's a requirement of everybody, but I do think that if you are in the scientific community, that it is your responsibility to combat that in any way that you can, whether it's with a family member, a friend, a colleague at work. If you overhear something, I just think that it's important for us in this field to perpetuate the correct information. And I think that's something that everyone in this community can do, in any, in whatever way they feel comfortable to do it.
Right.
So that's, one of the big things. I think, you know, coming from that as well is, you know, just given recent events, in the Capitol and everything that's happened in the last 4 years, and especially in the last year, for me, it's not a, it's about people. It's not about what uh, political party you're affiliated with, and I think as a physician, that's where it comes from. Like, I don't care about, you know, what background you come from, what religion you are, what political party you stand with. All of those things are part of who you are, but I'm going to treat you to my best abilities and listen to you, and um, be there for you, in that patient physician relationship. And I think we need to, as people, as a society, extend that to each other. Like, I you can have your own beliefs, and I don't think we need to force anybody's beliefs on each other, but we need to agree that we have society rules so that we can live in unison. And I think that we need to go forward and unify in that way. Listen to each other, respect one another, agree to disagree, have conversations to learn from one another. But yeah, I think that's another big topic, that anybody in the world can really do. And then to get back to science, because we are in the midst of a pandemic, it's vaccinations. And I think, again, that goes back to information, and correctly distributing that, right? And I think it's just so important this year, as healthcare professionals, both Breen and I, working with patients that have COVID and being, exposed to that population. We are fortunate enough to get both doses of the vaccine so far, right? But I think it's important for us to keep, pushing the message that vaccines save lives, and that's just the facts, And yes, we have enough, we have a lot of good data for the COVID vaccines, and we're going to still learn more about them, but we have a lot of good data, and to help people make an informed decision, right? That is our job in general as physicians, but to continue that with the COVID vaccine. So those are, I think, some of, I think the big goals for all of us for 2021.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. And just kind of getting back to like one of the lows of 2020 that you alluded to, misinformation, fighting misinformation, conspiracy theories and misinformation. I mean, this stuff I knew was running rampant, but I didn't realize to what extent it was and how difficult it is to combat that, but how important, equally important it is to combat that, because we need to put the right information out there. Just like you said so wonderfully, it is our job as physicians, as healthcare professionals, healthcare workers, whoever you are in the field taking care of patients, to help your patients make those informed decisions based on factual information. So when we see things that are not based on factual information and see other people listening to those things, that's when it makes our job a lot more difficult, because like you said, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and we need to get out of that pandemic. And in order for us to do this, we need to have some kind of unified protocol so that we can get out of it with mass vaccinations. So, I mean, to all the people, to all the scientists, all the, the physicians, the nurses, the EMT, everybody that has been, all hands on deck with this pandemic, we salute you guys, and keep fighting the good fight, because we need everybody to be unified and in order to help each other, to save lives. That's why we went into this, is to help people get better and to save their life. And so we're talking about life-saving measures here. This isn't a joke. And so we're hoping that, everybody takes it seriously.
Yeah. And it's all about, like I said before, about information. Nobody's forcing anything. Nobody's, it's nobody's trying to fight one another. It's really about living peacefully and in unity. So yeah, I hope that 2021 will be we'll have the steps towards that. So we will see. Going on for with our reflections for 2020, or with our goals for 2021. My question for you is, we talked about some of the goals. We kind of talked about it earlier about how we started Heart to Heart, and some of the projects that we've done so far. But do you want to tell our listeners about some of our goals for the future?
Yeah. So we have a lot of exciting things in the pipeline, some of which we are not going to discuss because we want it to be a surprise. But, one of the main things is really to broaden our reach. And that's one of the reasons why we're starting this YouTube channel. So, when Amish and I started as the little group that we were both on Instagram. We started this IGTV series. It became incredibly successful. And, we also both are fairly new to the Twitter game as well. And medicine is big on Twitter, cardio Twitter, med Twitter. And so, we've learned from a lot of our colleagues that Instagram doesn't have, even though Instagram actually has a huge reach, not only within the medical community, but within the general public as well. With our colleagues, some of our colleagues, have expressed that, maybe doing a YouTube channel or, being able to be on YouTube will broaden the reach within the medical community. And, we've seen a lot of our own colleagues that have already led the way and have their own YouTube channels that are incredibly successful. And so I think that was the next step that we were, talking about, hence why we're doing it, and I really hope that, I think it's really great. And again, this is, one of the reasons why we started this. I think it's really great to learn about information. I think it's really great to learn about education. I think it's really great to learn about research and trials and this, that, whatever. These are things that our careers are based off of, and how we treat and manage our patients changes literally on a day-to-day basis sometimes, right? But then you think about, what people's perceptions of us are, right? And people tend to perceive doctors, they put doctors in a box, right? Doctors are supposed to be a certain way, handle themselves a certain way. They're not allowed to do this, that, whatever. No one really talks about doctors outside of the job that doctors have to do, right? Doctors are humanitarians by profession, and that's it. But doctors are also human beings. And we want to share that with people because it's really important for you to see the face behind the title, right? And it's really important for you to see the journey behind the title. Nobody was just handed a division of, division chief of cardiology of a department. Nobody was handed, being the leader of, a national society or organization. Nobody was handed given speaking opportunities at international, societies. Nobody is handed these things. They've had to work really hard to get them. And I think that even when Amish and I were coming up in our careers, we would look at other people and we would think, wow, like they're doing X, Y, and Z. We wonder if we'll ever be able to do that. But then when we've actually talked to these people ourselves, we've had so many realizations about, we had no idea that you went through this. We had no idea that you went through that. And I think it's important to share that with people because we want to inspire the future generation of physicians to say, for them to see that, hey, we're human too. We make mistakes too. But just because we make mistakes, it doesn't mean that we can't reach the end goal that we've worked so hard to reach, And I think sharing that journey with people is important to humanize physicians, to show that physicians have to work hard to get to where we get to, that we put in years and years and years of sacrifice, and that we have other things that we're interested in, not just cardiology or medicine or whatever specialty we're practicing. It's really important for us to show this. I love this multifaceted view of what a physician is, and so doing this YouTube channel will allow us to have access to more students, more trainees, more healthcare workers in all different fields and aspects, as well as just the general public. So we're really excited to do more videos. And then going off of that, not just videos with cardiologists, Misha's a pediatric cardiologist, I'm an adult cardiologist, but we want to talk to other specialties too. What are you guys about? What are surgeons doing, right? Like, what are the internal medicine guys doing? And like, what are who else is there? Psychiatrists doing? The emergency medicine physicians, all the allergists and the immunologists. Shout out to Purvi Parikh. She is awesome. All of the people, like, what are y'all doing in your specialties? Like, we want to talk to you guys too, because everybody has a unique journey. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a message. And I promise you, this is the stuff that people want to hear. This is the stuff that they're yearning to hear. The messages that Amisha and I get almost every day from somebody somewhere in the world saying, thank you so much for sharing so-and-so's journey, or thank you so much for doing this. Because you did this, I want to now become a doctor. Because you said this, I want to now go into medicine. I feel encouraged to become a cardiologist or do this or that. That is why we're doing this, because it really, really does encourage and inspire other people, and the advice that they have to give, that generally people wouldn't have access to these people, And so the fact that now they can just give this advice on this platform is amazing. So having access to a general, more general population, having access to more specialties that can give advice within their fields. And then really, Amisha and I have learned a lot about each other, and we're learning about how we want to grow this, grow this platform. And maybe it isn't just videos, maybe it's other things that we want to do. Maybe it's other things that we want to get involved with. And we're really trying to, figure that out. And like I said, we have some things in the pipeline that we're working on and we're super excited about. And we're just incredibly grateful, incredibly blessed that we have this opportunity to do this. We're not paid to do this at all, y'all. We're doing this for free. All right. So guess what?
On our own time.
Literally on our own time. Okay. We literally take time out of we're both full-time cardiologists. We take time out of our days. We're both done with work today and we're recording this. This takes hours and hours and hours every week, and we have filmed videos sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. And then we have to edit the videos. We have to make the posts for the videos. We have to make the flyers. And Amisha and I have no background in this stuff. If I could tell you guys some of the conversations that we've had about some of the technical things that we've had to figure out. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, we've literally learned, and it's like become our child. Like, we've birthed this thing together, and it's awesome to see where, it's going, and we're learning so much more about how to make it even bigger. So we're excited to grow together and to, grow in our careers and to continue to meet awesome people and just see where it goes. And we're really excited to take you guys all on this journey.
And I mean, I think, it would be great. Like you said, we hope that all of you have gained as much as we have from this series. And we learn from all of you and from all of our guests that have been on here. So it's going to continue to be a symbiotic relationship for us with our audience, with our guests, and with each other. So, we just, if you guys out there have any ideas on what you'd like to see from us, reach out to us, DM us. We're open to
Leave
hear it.
comments below. We can finally say that.
All of those things, Instagram is always going to be our home base, and we're always going to release on IGTV. But we want to do this for our community, for other physicians, other healthcare workers, and for all of you in the general public. So please feel free to reach out to us. And again, we want to thank you all for coming on this journey with us. And we hope that you'll continue on this wild ride. So with that, we will see you next week with our new guest for the year. Thank you again, and see you next time.
Bye, everybody.